Hi everybody, welcome to my channel for a new battle report. So this was another practice game before the tournament Bellum Lacum. Just play a game with my teammate Chizu. We were both trying some variation on our list and we thought it might be the best way to decide about changes might be to face each other and then give each other feedback. So we'll see how that game goes. I tried the following list. So magical setup was a master thaumaturgy with a rod of battle. Then I played an apprentice shamanism with the book. I felt this combination gives me plenty of buff spell and also range damage. It's not cheap, but it can bring a lot to the list. Then I played a Great Khan General with the defensive build that I found recently quite interesting for my list. Then a Khan BSB with minimal stuff, mainly being BSB 18 and Ban of Discipline because all my characters are going to go in one main unit. Then in core 10 bruisers, 5 tigers, 3 tribesmen. To be honest, I prefer at the moment for the price, I definitely prefer 3 tribesmen or 3 bruisers over 5 saber-tooth tigers. But the main reason here was I didn't want too many scoring units in my list because in the tournament we're going to play there are some secondary objectives defined in advance and it's a tournament of 4 and having a liability on capture the flag on 2 rounds could be an issue. So that's why I decided to go for this core setup. I decided to have some smaller threats, so I wanted to distinguish the role of 4 Tusker's cavalry with the Band of Ginget being an expensive and strong unit. And then the second unit being a bit cheaper went down from 4 models to only 3 models and paired weapons. So it's a cheaper unit that I can send against like big unit where I had troubles thinking about my recent game, maybe the Naiads or maybe Barbarian Big Block and so on. Then a saber-tooth tiger and I decided to try out the 2 catapult. Again, I wanted to have more smaller threats and I thought chariot are always decent at being a threat. They've impacted, they're quite interesting, and at the same time they're bringing me catapult damage, which covers one, in my opinion, of the main weakness of the Ogre Khan, which is facing elite infantry, a big unit that can strike faster than me and really hard. So that could cover a little bit this weakness, and then a slave giant with a great weapon. I played against the following lists. Shizu was trying out the Miser Sugulag, Morpha Khan, 20 Myrmidon, 12 Imps, 10 Lemurs, 5 Orders with Mirrored Scale, 2 Legion Treasure with Divining Snout, and then 2 Piece of Chaff. So MSU type of list with 2 main units being Myrmidon and Orders that are quite strong scoring unit for demons. We played Spoil of War. We wanted to try out this one because it brings a lot of active play and the rest we roll just randomly. And below you have both players' spell selection. I think here, first mistake from my side, the breast weapon is not that interesting. I should have picked Trial of Faith instead. The rest I think is makes sense basically. Matchup analysis, so it's counter trust, so I would be happy to start and see 3 of his drops. He has a lot of chaff available in his list, so I have to use my chariot, giant, and tribesman to get rid of those. Thinking about the lemurs that could move forward, or the gremlins and furies and so on. Orders are his main scoring unit. We are playing a Spoil of War, so I definitely think the Myrmidon shouldn't be too much of a problem because of the Scratapult and the rest of the range damage. And then regarding orders, I have 2 main answers, which are the Tusker unit, especially the big one, and the Bruiser Star. Chariot are always a problem for me, so I have to target them with Magic Missile to avoid them being a big problem during the game. Estimation, very drawish. Deployment, so he won the roll for side, which I was quite happy with, because as you can see the map is really similar. I mean, both sides are it's symmetrical, basically. He gave me bottom because one of the spoil is harder to reach, which makes sense. And then I started dropping. I dropped my dogs first. He went with orders, I guess, to have... I think it was an interesting choice because, like I said, my main answers are the big block of bruisers and big unit of Tuskers, and I don't necessarily want to place one of them on the right of an impassable and then having to if it's the Tuskers, I have to have my Bruiser Star nearby, and placing the Bruiser Star on the flank doesn't make much sense. So I found it was an interesting choice. Then I decided to place a Scratapult here. Basically, I thought he might want to minimize what I might do with Scratapult against Myrmidon, and by placing it as much forward as possible, I might deny him some zone where he could hide. So I found that quite interesting. Then he plays some Imps, I guess. I place a Lone Tiger, and then he plays some Lemure maybe, and I drop the first turn. So right flank for the Order, I anticipated the fact that he might want to go on this one and then push towards the middle. I wanted to threaten his, basically the moment he's going to turn towards the middle, I wanted to threaten with a charge in the flank and maybe this one in the face. And at some point I could also easily move my second Scratapult right here to also threaten the flank. So having two things to threaten the flank and one in the front could be enough to make that the Order cannot push too much and maybe are even threatened on the secondary objective. I place the Bruiser Star in the middle facing the secondary objective, play some tribesmen, so as you can see my chaff pretty central. And then the big Tusker unit on the left, thinking he might put a lot, he might put less and give it for free, then I can easily march on it turn 1 and then move towards the middle to apply pressure. And if he wants to put something on the left, he debated a bit, should he put a chariot or not, but I think it was the right call because the Maw alone is not enough to stop the Tuskers from getting it. His counter deployment, so as expected, he split around the table. He put the Maw on the left, Chariot, Imps, Furies, Lemures, Sugulag in the middle, second Chariot on the right, and then Myrmidon on the far right. He made a good job by denying me any good shot, so I'm out of range, meaning this one will have to move and shoot from long range, and this one I think can move and then have short range, so 5 up and here 6 up, which is not easy, and he ambushed his gremlins, obviously. My turn 1. I push forward, but not too much. So basically, in the middle, I didn't feel threatened by a lot of things, so I pushed as much as I could while keeping Sugulag in my front arc, so he cannot escape any of the line of sight of bruisers, meaning if he wants to move out of line of sight, or basically move aggressively forward, he needs to feed me chaff, which is something I wanted. Baited it with some charges, but nothing too interesting, and I can easily flee. Those ones just turn a bit, and on the right I did what I told you. I moved this Scratapult within short range, and basically I think it was short range, basically having line of sight on the Order. Even if they push max, I will be able to see with those two in the flank and this one in the front, which is what I liked. And here in the left I decided to be patient. Basically, if I move forward, I cannot risk a charge of both, and if I move only a bit forward, still out of charge range of this one, he could potentially chaff me with Furies or Imps and then push behind, which is something I didn't like. And this Catapult, I wanted to get a line of sight on those. I think I could have done the same, but being a couple of inches more in the back, I exposed it a bit too much. I didn't feel in danger of any of the charges. Even the Chariot charging me, I could flee and then he would be facing the impassable. So I have no problem with the charges, but I think I could have been a bit further away due to the magic missile that he might do with Sugulag, basically. In magic phase, I did End of Heaven, a big one on this Chariot. He passes 1 ward save, and then I did Swarm of Insect, did 3 wounds to the Chariot, which is a good start. Shooting, I get one of the 6 up, I think both were 6 up to hit. I get one on the 6 up and I kill 5 Myrmidons, which is really good start for me. His turn 1, he didn't move much, which means I'm in a good position. He decided to turn around this Chariot facing the middle to avoid me going easily on the spoil. So basically he's telling me, if you go on the spoil, then I can charge you with 2 Chariot plus Sugulag, potentially. The orders, because of the positioning of my different pieces, cannot go so easily on this spoil of war, which is something I wanted. Other than that, yeah, he moved slightly forward with the Maw, but not much. Didn't move with the Imps to shoot me, basically. And he repositioned Sugulag to exploit the high positioning of the Scratapult directly, because he sees that as a threat from range, and I think he's right about that. And I should have protected it a bit better. I could have even moved on the hill as well to have a good line of sight on them. So I think I had plenty of orders option to be in range and without so much risk to be forward and killed easily. We'll see if I pay that, if I pay the price for that mistake. So he got Smite the Unbeliever, -1 resilience on my Scratapult, and Sugulak, I mean, it's demon, it's crazy good. Thaumaturgy, he can 2 dice pretty much everything, and he gets an amount of spell, it's crazy. So he gets 2 dice, -1 resilience, then he gets Big Hand of Heaven, again on 2 dice, did 3 wounds. And then he got the small bounce spell Hand of Heaven on the Scratapult, did another 2 wounds, so he killed me. And I dispel the Wrath of God. So, yeah, heavy price paid. Shooting attack, I pass his 3 saves with the Tuskers against his AP0 imp shot. But this could be a problem as well. My turn 2. I didn't move that much. I basically tried to anticipate as much as possible the ambushing positioning of the gremlins. So what I did, in the middle I moved on the token and I wanted to buff my Death Star as much as I could to make sure that if he attempts these charges, basically these are still quite long charges even with Divining Snout, and if he attempts that, he's not likely to get through. So I just move on the token, I wanted to be on the front foot on the scoring. I move my 2 mages out of the unit, but again together. The idea being he cannot ambush anywhere within 6 where he can chaff my main threat being Tuskers or the Death Star, which is nice. On the right side as well, I moved the giant in a strange position, but again I wanted to avoid him being able to ambush and chaff the giant, so he could chaff the Scratapult, which is not a big deal, but I wanted to keep the threat of obviously I'm out of line of sight on these 2, and I think 6 or even outside of the Myrmidon, I guess. But basically the idea being if he push Max with the Order, I'm going to see his back and his front. So I could still double charge him with 2 good threats. So basically he cannot do that, which is something I wanted. And if he chaffs the Scratapult, fine for me. I moved those guys a bit sideways, the rest not much. And decided to hide the Tiger because of the position of Sugulak. I anticipated that he might maybe want to jump here, and if he gets any 24-inch range or line of sight because he's gigantic, I could be annoyed. I don't want to chaff yet, I don't need to. As you can see, I slide my Tuskers. I didn't want to push on the secondary because I think it's a bit too risky. First of all, I need to buff my Death Star to get this one, so I don't want to have to buff the Tusker as well. And without any buff, getting charged by the Maw is too risky. So, and also I was a bit afraid of getting a terror check on an 8 rerollable because the Great Khan was too far. So this was a bit the reasons behind me not going on the Spoil of War already. Magic Phase, he dispels Swarm of Insect. I got +1 resilience on my Death Star, and I think I fail Wrath of God potentially. Scratapult hit and kill another 5 Myrmidons. So nice job. I didn't get much shot, but I got already a lot of wounds. And the Myrmidon, he said it already. With 10 guys, they cannot anymore, because his plan at the beginning was the Order can push here and the Myrmidons go manage the spoil. But he cannot do that anymore with only 10 Myrmidons left, which is nice for me. His turn 2. Again, not much. He kept this position in the middle, decided to turn around the Chariot, so he wanted to get as well on the secondary objective. So he put the Orders on the secondary objective, minimizing the number of Tuskers in contact. Everybody's in the front, and basically I'm going to struggle to put all my units, and then he put a lot of counter charge behind. So well done from him. Gremlin decided to enter and threaten this Catapult, and the rest... It kept the same position in the left. It thought that I didn't want to come on it. The Chariot looking away from this zone didn't mean I can really come on the second objective, so he sees that he can keep this position with the Chariot. In the Magic Phase, what did he got? He got a big Hand of Heaven on a Giant that did nothing, and the rest I dispel or I did nothing. So a weaker Magic Phase. My turn 3. So I found the spot where the Giant could march. So first I had to pass a march check, I guess rerollable, 18, maybe not, I don't know. But I passed a march check in a spot where he cannot charge me with the Chariot. It's not possible due to table edge and the position of the Myrmidon, so there is no way the Chariot can come, even combine, no way he can come to this combat, which is nice. I'm not threatened by the Myrmidon. They can move out of the way here, and I try to cover with the Scratapult here. I get another shot of the Scratapult. I'm in short range, but I move, so it's going to be 5 up in the Myrmidon. Maybe I can reduce them even further. I position my dogs and Tusker in a way that he cannot charge me with the orders. So he can get the secondary, obviously, but he cannot charge anything, which is what I wanted for the moment. The Death Star just repositioned to avoid him going out of arc with anything. So I'm covering all the angles in the middle, and I got the spoil and starting to move a bit backwards to bring leadership closer. Here again, I went into leadership. I have time for that. And since Sugulag moved away, I can place my dog again here. And that's it. In the magic phase, I got, what did I get? I also got -1 resilience on the Tusker last round in case I want to charge here. So I got another spell off. My turn, so I will only get, I think it dispels some of the blast that I had, and I'm going to get a comet that I place right here in case he wants to move away. I found that's a spot very annoying for the chariot and also the Myrmidon, so I place a comet right here. Shooting, I kill 2 Myrmidon with an indirect shot from the catapult, and then with one of the Ogre crossbow, I'm able to shot the flank and kill another 3, so I kill wall 5. I was a bit afraid because if I kill one more, then the chariot can fit. So luckily for me, I kill only 5, so there is 5 left. So Myrmidon are almost dead. Did a lot of job from range, to be honest. And that's it. His turn 3. So he's going to turn around and face me. He's going to march away. I could have placed my comet, I think, a bit more down to cover even more the Myrmidon. I think that was a small mistake. I could have been a bit more down to basically make sure that the Myrmidon cannot be easily. So a couple of inch, it's a detail, but at least it pushes the chariot a lot in the back, which is something I wanted. Like always, I mean, the Wrath of God doesn't always do a lot, but at least it forces or modifies some movement of the opponent. And then he turned around with the orders, thinking there is no charge anymore because he charged with the gremlins against my catapult flank. I decided to flee, ended up here, which I'm not threatened. But unfortunately, I lost 3 wounds due to impassable, which is the max I could lose. So that was a bit unfortunate. And I will ended up here and just basically I can rally on 9 rollable, which is not an issue. And I get into a good position as well. I felt I didn't want to take this combat, which is a bit risky. He turned around again with the chariot, thinking now this spoil of war might be the key one. So as you can see, he moved his chaff and everything closer to make a very strong zone here with 5 units against only 1 for me. And he split his forces, which is something I expected from his game plan, because I'm strong in the middle. So he's splitting his forces. He has basically 4 units on the right plus the gremlins and 5 on the left and nothing in the middle. So I have a choice to make next round with my Tuskers. Magic phase is going to get End of Heaven, the tunes to the giant, then you get a breast weapon, strength 3 on the champion Myrmidon. And then Wrath of God comes down and kill all the Myrmidon. Did nothing else but just kill all the 5 Myrmidons left, which is nice because no breast weapon, no Myrmidon anymore. So this is awesome for me. Again, a bit of luck with the range damage. Boom, boom, boom. And shooting, he did 1 wound to my left Tuskers. And I think that was it. So yeah, quite a good turn for me, again, getting rid of the Myrmidon. My turn 3. So this is going to get interesting because right now I have to decide. Secondary objective, I got 1, he got 1. So I have 2 choices to make. Either the Death Star pushes right and try to get those guys to let the flag go and try to get it with something else. Or just say, fuck it, I avoid the right side and then push towards the left and try to get my Tusker on it. Problem with that, if I go on the left, basically I have a chariot plus Sugulag in my back, plus the order that are not so fast but still a threat. So a bit annoying. And then here he has his available chaff plus couple of threat well positioned. Not easy. If I decide to go on the right, then I'm facing less units. I'm still keeping Sugulag in my front arc, plus a chariot that is already wounded. And then basically this unit here, I can try to maintain the standoff and make as hard as possible, because he has only imps to go on this secondary objective, which might not be so easy. Only 3 tribesmen can be a threat for them, so maybe it's easier. Which is why I decided to go for the right. And thinking about that, I felt they can easily escape, so I might as well try to pin them down with the 3 Tuskers, do some wounds, and then get rid of them next round. So that's what I did. So I charge with the Tuskers, move my Giant in a position where he cannot chaff me with the Myrmidon, with the Gremlins. So next round I can get a charge from Death Star plus a Giant, which should be enough to get rid of what remains from them. Just reposition a bit my dogs that have no purpose right now. Could have potentially move and try to get rid of them, maybe. I don't know. I felt I could potentially need to chaff later on. So basically I'm in a position where his plan was to give counter charge here, but if he counter charges with anything, I will get the Giant and or the Death Star and get rid of what counter charge me, and get rid most likely of the orders. So I'm going to win on points with this trade-off. Obviously I rallied the Catapult, repositioned some of my smaller, my chaff pieces, and repositioned the Tuskers to remain within BSB's range, still zoning. So if he wants to come forwards, he needs to feed me a chaff that I can see with the Catapult, which I liked. Let's move on to Magic Phase. I'm going to get -1, so I'm going to full buff this combat. When you charge, you might as well try to give you as many chances to do as many wounds as possible. So I put first a random smite that did -1 resilience on the orders, which is nice. Then I got Rod of Battle, and I also got +1 strength on the Tuskers. So that's 3 buffs. So I was quite lucky in this Magic Phase because we got similar amount of dice to cast or dispel, and it was really unlucky to let through all 3 buffs. So that was quite a lot. And then we go into close combat because I have no shooting that matters. So close combat, I put here the numbers, and basically the Tuskers did what they should do because I have +1 to hit, +1 strength, and he has -1 resilience, which is quite good. I go agility wise before him, so I did like 4 wounds with impact, and then 3 wounds with the guy on top on paired weapon, and 5 wounds with the beast. So 12 wounds, that's 3 model died, and he did in return between the mirror and his attack, he did only 3 wounds to me, so he killed 1 model, but then he just popped, which wasn't expected. So I got rid of them only with the 3 Tuskers, but they were full buffed. So 3 buffs is really a lot, and this mattered because I wounded on 2 up with impact hits, and also with the beast, which is crazy. Okay, he's turn 4. He attempted a charge on my 2 remaining Tuskers that are on the secondary objective, but he failed that one, which is huge. It's a charge, I think it was on a 7, because I have no magical stuff, so it's only normal charge range. I think it was on 7. And he attempted another one that was on a 6 against the Ginget guy, and he got that one. Lemures tried to charge my Catapult, I fled, and he passes the redirect check, attempted to charge in the flank here on the 12, that failed. He passes the march check on the Gremlins on a 5, but just march forward didn't matter so much. In close combat, so it's a huge turn because I don't want to lose them easily. I felt this charge I was okay with. It's an easy charge. I was okay with that charge. I think I should do decently against his chariot, but I don't want him to get buffed. So I use Binding Scroll on Spectral Blade. I dispel Smite, and I was even able to dispel with 2 dice against his 3 Whispers of the Whale. He got a 8 and I got a 9, I think, on 2 dice. So lucky me, I dispel even Whispers of the Whale. So he has no buffs other than he gets a breast weapon. So as you can see, it's demon. I mean, he was able to get 3 good buffs, and I dispel 2 of those, and he gets still the breast weapon strength 4, but it's not the worst one for me, I guess. Impact hit, I put all the stats here. So first of all, impact did 3 wounds, the breast weapon did 1 wound, and the other guy from the chariot did 1 wound and 1 wound each. So he did a total of 6 wounds, and I did 5 wounds in return, meaning I lost by 1, and I passed my check on 7 rollable, which matters. So still a tense fight, a bit more tense than what I expected. He rolled kind of expected, maybe slightly above, but it's still a close fight, and yeah, I could have also been run down, and that's huge on the left flank. My turn 5, but now is pretty much dead, basically. So my turn 5, I rally the Catapult, turn around with the Death Star because I got rid of them, charge with the guys rearing, they have the secondary, they charge the chariot. I failed the march check with the giant, so I just move a bit. Move my dog also to get a possible flank charge if I'm stuck. And I decided to chaff Sugulag in a strange way, basically by putting the Death Star in front. And basically, if he cannot really escape or he needs to come around, so that's fine. If he wants to charge, fine as well. I found a sweet spot with the 3 tribesmen out of line of sight of everybody, basically. Nothing can charge me. And here we're stuck in combat. So I have 2 combat. That should go well because now he's only strength 3, so he's wounding on 6 up. Magic phase. I dispel. So this was a 6 on the 6 swift side. I dispel, I think, the +1 strength on these ones. But I got +1 to hit on them. And close combat, I just killed both. So there was only 2 wounds remaining. And I able to get the 5 wounds remaining here. So I got rid of both. His turn. He charged with the Maw against my Tuskers that have only 4 wounds remaining. So obviously I fled. Right here, Sugulag passes the mark check, comes here to blast my 2 guys because now secondary objective going to be decided with them. Other than that, they just move a bit around. He moved the imps on the secondary objective as well. And I'm going to be too far to attempt any charge with anything, so he hasn't even the need to feed me any chaff. In the magic phase, he got -1 resilience on those guys. Then he got breast weapon on him. I dispel under 7, and with the breast weapon, he did 2 wounds. I failed the panic check on 8 rollable, and I let down the secondary objective. But I think I've been very lucky on round 4 of the 2 magic phases, my turn and his turn. So now I'm a bit unlucky. I think overall it balances a little bit the luck. He got also some Wrath of God down right here to basically threaten my 2 remaining Tuskers. So my turn 6, I didn't rally on 8, so I continue to flee. I have to chaff those guys to avoid them pushing me off the board. I move my dogs just out of line of sight, doing nothing. Turn around with them to get rid of the Furies maybe. Rally those guys. I forgot about the Wrath of God and didn't move the cat. This one has just 1 wound remaining. I decided, let's fuck it, let's try double 6 on the imps. If I'm lucky, maybe I get rid of them and then there is no imps anymore. And also worth mentioning that the Maw couldn't charge me because of the imps. So I felt 2 rounds of combat, he has to roll 6s to wound me. Maybe I survive, I get rid of them in 2 rounds, we'll see. And here I decided, since I have no combat to buff, let's get this charge and try to buff and see if I can get rid of lemurs that are pretty tough. I got -1 resilience in close combat, and then Rod of Battle as well on my guys. He dispelled the breast weapon on the mage to try to get rid of the Furies. And also I got +1 resilience on those Tuskers to anticipate the Wrath of God that comes down, did 1 wound to them, so he get half points. And he killed the dogs and killed the last wound of the Scratapult, which makes sense. Close combat, I did like 4 wounds, and I think I have the stat again. Yeah, I did 4 wounds, and he did 2 wounds to me, which was more than expected. He passes the steadfast check, all good. And I reform 3 voids. He's done 6, not much. Basically what happens to magic, so he's trying to do some more wounds on stuff, but he's going to try to blast my giant, but did nothing. And then the breast weapon on the lemurs I dispel, and he got -1 strength on my ogres. Close combat I did, I think 0, and he did 0 as well, and I pass 8 rollable, and that's the end of the game. It ended up being a 12-8, so tie on the secondary objective. That was really in balance. I was on the front foot at a certain time when the Tusker had it, and then I had to let that go due to the immense power of the Demon Legion magic phase. Post-game analysis, so like I said, I was on the front foot until this flee. Deployment-wise, I felt okay. Maybe could have split Myrmidon and Order, have 1 on each side, could have been maybe a bit more threatening or annoying for me. I felt the Myrmidon were in a good spot, giving me hard shot on turn 1. I don't know. Scratapult did great job. I mean, range damage for me did an amazing job, as it did for him as well. To be honest, turn 4, 2 magic faces that went definitely in my direction and did a lot in the game. Turn 4, not getting any -2 wound modifier in the combat chariot was huge. I think if he got -1 resilience on my 4 Tuskers and -1 leadership as well, could have mattered a lot. So definitely that was also quite important. And the list, yeah, I love having more opening pieces where I can try out stuff. I can flee with my catapult, rally, do stuff. So I played them a bit too aggressive potentially. Could have been a bit more conservative with the chariot. But I felt that's also pieces with whom I can take some more risk. And magic here, I felt the buff magic was great in close combat. I was able to do a lot. I should have just picked a Trial Fade instead of Press Weapon like I mentioned at the beginning. And I finally, that was also a small satisfaction for me, I finally managed to reduce Gremlin's impact. So basically they come on the board and did nothing significant all game outside of making a catapult flee, but they were not able to chaff me, and that was not easy to manage, but I finally did it. I had to play so many games against Siju to finally be able to manage them. Okay guys, that was it for my for this game, this battle report. You will see how I changed slightly the list for the Balum Lacum, the tournament that I'm going to attend. You can find infos on your recruit if you want to, and after that I'm going to post some training games, more training games before the tournament with the actual tournament list. Thanks a lot for watching, talk to you soon on the channel, bye.